CD Landscaping. Thank you for coming on. I
No
do appreciate
problem.
it.
Thanks for having me.
So I want you to walk through, tell us a bit about yourself. Obviously you're super young. You've got a pile of equipment. It's very impressive what you've done and what you guys are doing out there. The work you put out is unreal.
Thank you.
So how do you get started at such a young age and tell us about yourself?
My name is Calvin Dejong. I started at 19. I'm working in the Watford, Ontario area. This is probably going into my 4th year for 2024. Started off with grass cutting, the generic push mower, little trailer setup. I bought a trailer and then I used my dad's truck and he drove me around and my mom drove me around.
And how old were you at that point?
That would have been 4 years ago, so it's 15, 16.
Right.
Around there. And then when I turned 17, I think it was, I hired a kid from my class. That was really like the COVID time, right? Like I was supposed to get my license, it was like in March, I would say 4 years ago, but then it got delayed 3-4 months. And I was already put out like 500 door hangers. I'm getting all this work and stuff. Like, how am I going to do it? Because the work is 30-40 minutes away out in the country. So, like, not a lot of the work is nearby.
Yeah.
So then I was just in a real pickle there. So then I asked my buddy from school, and he was able to help me. So, like, we were doing school for, like, half the day, go work the other half the day. So, honestly, without him, I would have been not where I am right now. I would have been more delayed, right? Yeah, I just would have been a half year or a year setback.
Because you wouldn't have been able to put it.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't have been able to get out there and start working. I would have had to wait and just stick to the couple lawns I had around the house, right?
And was that a bulk of it? Mostly lawns and maintenance?
Yeah, I probably had honestly 2 or 3 lawns in my first year.
Yeah.
It was just like a neighbor, like a farm I used to work for. And then just down the road, there was just like another office for a demolition company. I did that too. And then my first real job was for like a real estate investor company from London. And then I was so excited. It was just like a job 20 minutes from my house. I just try to show a professional, but obviously my parents had to drop me off, right? Just walking out of the truck. You gotta talk it was something else. I got the job. It was just grass cutting, little cheap landscape spruce out, a couple cedars, some mulch, and you know what I mean. They were on a tight budget because they gotta make money at the end of the day too. But that's just how it started. And then fast forward a couple years later, I quit grass cutting, quit garden bed maintenance, and now we're just focusing on grading, sodding, hydroseeding, patios, retaining walls, fences, decks.
So how did you flip the switch from fully maintenance to now fully landscape construction and installs?
It was grade 12 I think I was in 2 years ago. I was still in school and I didn't have time. I could really only work I got off the bus after high school 4:20 p.m. and that left me with like a 3-hour span or whatever, right?
Right.
And obviously my family's also eating dinner around 6, so it's like, you know, it was just tough to maneuver, and I was just running out of time. Saturday was the only full day, and that was my grass cutting day, right? So I could do them all in one shot. But then I was just running out of time, so like that spring, I said, sorry, I can't do it anymore, just because I wasn't delivering the same service as I was that previous year.
Same quality.
Yeah, right. It was just too rushed. It was not the same. It was just like a startup. Everybody starts with cutting grass. That's how you get your customer base. That's how you get your name out there. You're driving around. I was driving around all over the place because I was driving sometimes 20 minutes to each lawn.
Spend half your day behind a windshield. Right?
Exactly, right? The gas, the time. I was doing it all myself, so I wasn't paying labor or anything at that time.
But still, the budgeted hours is cut right in half, right?
Exactly. And
and the billable hours as well.
That's exactly right. You can't charge too quick for driving around. It's not for a landscape job where, okay, you leave the yard at this time, you charge for the 30.
You charge all day.
Exactly, right? Where in that case, cutting grass, that's kind of on your own time, it seems like. So I quit that, and then I did garden bed maintenance for another 2 years or so, for 2022 and 2023. And then I didn't enjoy that too much either. I found that also getting in the way of the jobs I want. Now people might say oh, what are you gonna drop next? You know what I mean? But what I'm focusing more towards one day is just the outdoor living work. We show up to a project, we'll knock out the whole thing. Like we don't do concrete or pools, but hopefully one day I can offer that service if you hire the right guys. So that's the idea. We show up to a job one day and we can do the whole thing. So that's why we're phasing out more of the maintenance and grass cutting stuff, and we dropped that.
And was it difficult at first for everyone to know? Like, was there somewhat of a rebrand you had to do? Because I'm sure you still got calls left and right for lawn cutting and for maintenance work.
Yeah, like we did door hangers last year and 2 years ago. That's how we started out marketing. People will ask you like, hey, do you do grass cutting? Unfortunately, you just tell them, no, sorry, we don't do that. We don't do it anymore. Just when I first dropped it, I was a little bit worried. I'm like, man, like I have all this landscape work, but what if like the landscape work dies down, just COVID, people spend less money, right?
Yeah.
And like people, if they don't have a lawnmower, they're not going to spend $2,000 or whatever too quick to buy a lawnmower.
Yeah.
So that would have been the thing where I could not have enough work. I'm like, shoot, I stabbed myself in the foot. I should have kept the grass cutting, right? But it all worked out. You just got to drop it. Sometimes a little bit of a risk, or you're not sure, but went for it, and it all panned out.
Good. In terms of like the work you guys do is very, you've done some massive projects. It's super cool, and I recommend everyone check you guys out. What, Instagram?
Just
your website.
C.D Landscaping, or on Google it's c.dlandscaping.ca. You should be able to.
So as this kid, I'll say.
Yeah.
How the hell did you learn to do all this? It was you and a few helpers, right?
It was just a lot of YouTube, as well as just getting to know people, talking like you. I think I connected with you through like Instagram or something. Maybe you commented on my
I think you gave me a call because you saw the quad TikToks or something.
Yeah, it was something like that. We started talking about designs and Dynascape, whatever else. But just learning, I started in grade 9. That summer, I worked for a landscaper. I worked for him the whole summer. It was just like grass cutting. Yeah. I was on a grass cutting crew. I maybe did like 3 landscape jobs with him, but just the reason why I was there to cut grass. And then the following summer, grade 10, my brother-in-law, he's also a landscaper. So I worked for him for the summer after grade 10. And then I learned all I needed to from there. And I kind of just picked up my own thing the summer after grade 11. And then I just watched a lot of YouTube videos, just connect with the right people. Like I did another first landscape job I did, or my second one. I did it for like a family friend, and he owns Shoot and Demolition. They're from the Wofford area, but service like the GTA, all over Ontario. And I created my first like quote for him. I walked into the job with my little measuring wheel, whatever. I thought it was a huge job, right? But it was just like $1,000 or whatever. I thought it was crazy, but I create the quote, all this stuff, and obviously he owns a huge company, right? And he knows how to do that stuff. Yeah. And he looks at it, he's like, you gotta change this, that, whatever else. Like, I just did not have a format, right? It just did not make any sense.
Well, you need mentors like that.
Yeah, that's how you get started, right? You just gotta learn. You're not gonna do it right the first time. Just improve, right? Yeah. Like, you don't, like, on that quote, you don't need 20 yards of dirt when you only need 10. You know what I mean? He's like, you don't need that much dirt, right? Yeah. And he made the whole, like, because he had big excavator. He could have knocked out this job in an hour, right? I just had like little equipment. Yeah. I was out there with little stump grinder stuff. Meanwhile, he had an excavator that could just pop it out. But he gave me the opportunity, and I was very thankful for that. I learned a lot from it, and just like those guys, you learn so much from, right? Yeah. Well, and you can't take it for granted too, or take offense to it, or take it personally. It's all just to get better. And exactly. I feel a lot of people are scared just taking the first step. They want to make sure everything's perfect before they jump, and just taking that first step, eating shit, and sure it's gonna be a mess, but once you do it, refine it as you go. Exactly. You gotta learn from your mistakes, and don't take it to heart. Let's say, just learn from it, move on, and it'll make your company better, right? In terms of what you guys are working on now, I know there's the landscaping, but there's a few other recent I guess additions or new things you guys are offering. Talk about like the dig outs and what you guys are doing with the home builders. Right, definitely. So part of the outdoor living idea of where we want to move our business. In 2023, we picked up a home builder, and right now we were just doing sodding and grading for them. Right, they're a new company. They're eager. They want to grow. COVID has its delays on stuff as well, so they're not too busy right now, but it is hopefully picking up in the next year. But what we're offering to our customers is where if they're a home builder, we can show up, we'll do the main dig out, we'll hook up the utilities, but obviously I hire my cousin, he's from St. Mary's, Young Excavating, and what I do is I call him up like, hey, I have this customer, can you dig it out, whatever. I bring a mini X in, hook up the utilities with a plumber, and we kind of move on, right? So I'm not necessarily doing it all myself, but I coordinate everything, like whether the gravel needs to come in.
Right.
Yeah, like the first one we had was a super simple, it was a nice open lot, nice area to learn. The second house dig out we had was a little more complex.
Yeah.
It was in an old demolition area where there's a hospital. So like we had to dig like 8 or 9 feet to hit stable soil that was untouched. And then within that, like we were working in there. My cousin was on the hoe, I was in the hole, and then Ministry of Labor comes up and I was in the hole. And since it's like unstable soil, we didn't have it sloped properly on the sides, so I had to get out whatever else. We got a little bit in trouble from there, but we learned from that too. So and part of that as well, I purchased a company in London, Ontario, doing sodding and hydro seeding.
Yeah.
So then hopefully that's all home builder work as well, right? So there's a contact list of 60 to 70 home builders on that list. There's probably 10 to 15 main ones that are like good, that generate good revenue for that company. But we're hoping to expand that as well, because right now that previous owner, he was just sodding and hydro seeding, but I'm hoping we can add the dig out part to it as well. And then from there, the people that move in, hopefully we can maintain contact. And then we can offer like fences, because all the new subdivisions need fences, right? And then from there, yeah, the landscape.
Or their whole landscape.
Yeah, exactly. If they're willing to spend the money, right?
So for guys starting out or newer guys, and by the way, Calvin's only 19, right?
Yeah, 19.
It's impressive. So I want you to touch more on the business acquisition, on buying that the sod company. How did that process go? For some 19-year-old to buy a massive sod organization.
Right. So I will admit, a lot of my stuff, like I got 3 trucks, whatever, but like 2 more financed, right? I got skid steers and they're on payments too. Like I'll throw it out there, like it's not all paid cash. And I got to get co-signers. It's not like they're paying for it. They just got to sign their name. Like, hey, like if something does happen,
if you miss a payment.
Exactly, right? Obviously that hasn't happened yet, thankfully. But so the difficult part was, I think it was last year, June, I heard from a buddy that he used to work, like his boss, whatever, let's say. He gave me calls like, hey, I got a buddy in London. He does sodding, hydro seeding, grading, whatever. Are you interested? So yeah, sure. I'm always open to opportunities. Any opportunity that is set in front of me, I like to take it. I find it so hard just to neglect it or just, say no. So obviously the guy that I am, I said, yeah, sure, whatever. I met him that day just because I was so eager.
Yeah.
Called him right after that, met him an hour later. I shook his hand, met him at his yard. Just the story is he was 60 years old maybe. He's been doing it for like 20 years. And obviously you can't do sod that much longer, right? And his wife passed away 2 years ago. See, he was just looking to sell, right?
Right.
So it did come with like a hefty price. Like the revenue and everything in that company, I saw the cash flow statements, everything. It made sense to me. Just the only problem was like, it's a lot of money, right? It's essentially a mortgage for almost another house, depending what house you want to buy. But so what we did was, the reason I mentioned I only purchased the sod and hydro seeding part was because I essentially split the company, and my brother, he has his own excavation thing as well. He just started in late 2023.
Yeah.
And he bought the grading part, right? So any fine grading or whatever, he will take care of that.
Yeah.
So we were essentially able to split the company. It's 2 different ownerships, let's say. Like we're not in business together. I'm just doing the sodding and hydro seeding.
Right.
And that gives him also a great opportunity with all these contacts of the home builders, right? So we each get the contact.
Yeah.
So that's how we did it too. Like I was able to split it, so I didn't have to pay as much for the company, only paying half.
Right.
And it came with all the assets, right? But we're selling a lot of it. Just
have you been able to get rid of?
Only a couple of things. Only a couple of things. Like we only got possession of it like was it September, October, roughly?
Yeah.
And with that, like the season is dying down, right? So not a lot of people are buying.
The spring you'll be able
Yeah, so hopefully the spring we'll list everything again.
Yeah, I think you texted me like 3 different pieces of equipment over our phone calls.
Try to sell you. I'm always trying to sell something.
I think it was a mower, and then you sent me a tractor.
Yeah, so like there was a lot of stuff that we just couldn't use. Like there was a 30-foot float trailer air rigs. Like my biggest truck is a 515. You can't still pull that, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't work. So I'm just selling a lot of that stuff, and that will like I'm essentially taking like half of what I make off the equipment and investing that in this company. The other half I'll just keep paying it off.
Yeah.
Is the idea, right? Yeah. So that's how we can kind of like pay back the loan or mortgage on that company.
Good. And what does that look like? The process of taking on someone's client list. Like, sure, they can give you the name and the fancy equipment, but if you don't have the contacts.
Yeah, like the reason it took so long was not one just the financials, but also just the lawyer work behind it. The amount of lawyer documents back and forth. Okay, you don't like this, send it back, fine tune it, adjust it.
Right.
Goes through the owner, goes through the lawyer, goes through us, and then it's approved, right? So that took a long time. So it's all in the contract. So if I'm not talking anything bad about the owner of the company previously, but let's say if he doesn't stick to his word or just doesn't promise what he promised, then in that case, like the lawyer has to get involved again, right? But he's on vacation right now, and actually have no contact with him. He's somewhere in the world. I don't even know where. It's not good. It really isn't. I'm not happy about it. We have all the assets and everything. I got like all the contact lists of the builders.
Yeah.
I got his foreman's number, like the foreman of that company.
Yeah.
He's a great customer of Green Horizon Sod. He was like the second biggest customer there.
Wow.
So they were able to help me out too. Like he always leaves on vacation in the winter, but he always comes back in the spring. So I'm not worried. It's not ideal, but
what is it you need from him that is
just for him to be the backbone, right? Like if he can still be there in the background, then customers are not likely to be like who's this kid, right? If he's not behind my back, let's say, he can,
right?
You know what I mean? Yeah. I just don't want to lose all these customers. I already got some of them. I already doing work for, right? I already talked to them, whatever,
right?
Every other week, whatever it is. So like we still got revenue generating from it. So I'm not worried. I think it'll all pan out, but it is still not ideal that he's gone. But not much you can do, right? He wants to retire and he wants to travel the world, so.
One day.
Yeah, one day, maybe.
So, in terms of estimating and taking into account, obviously valuing your time and your skill, but taking into account like the unforeseen circumstances and going back to that dig out where you guys had to go way deeper than you probably thought to hit undisturbed soil, and then the whole Ministry of Labor thing.
Yeah.
How do you go about, say you're coming to an estimate, making sure that whether it's in your contract or you take into account that, hey, there's possibly going to be some sort of variance once we start breaking ground?
Yeah, like with that specific job, we knew the people that took down the hospital, as well as we talked to different home builders.
In the area?
Yeah, and then like they warned us like, yeah, watch out for this, whatever. So on the first dig we just created like a bulk price, stone, sand, the dig out, utilities, whatever, right? In this case, we actually went hourly on the job.
So like time material.
Yeah, just because like it was like the last house in the subdivision lot, so there's nowhere else to dump the dirt. So we had dump trucks coming in, 2 dump trucks that we hired out to someone else, and like so you got to price that all out. Well, we were not even sure how deep you got to go yet. Like they did testing. I'm not sure. It was just like a surveying company. They came and they drilled a hole and they see like what the virgin soil is, right? The untouched. So in that case, like it was very deep and it could change again, right? And what we actually noticed was the width of the house, but halfway, let's say like the radius or whatever, it was like part of it was untouched and the other half of it was.
Once you got to a certain depth.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you could tell where like the hospital almost ended. It was funny. But it all worked out. It was just like an hourly job.
Yeah.
And for a lot of the stuff, you just gotta add in your contracts. Okay, like this is what we're doing. This is why we're pricing it this way, And I use Jobber. I think you use Element.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, so I use Jobber. You just attach it in your invoice or quote, whatever you may do, the contract, everything, right? And Jobber is great for that. Also, I've used, I think, Element when I was like surfing around.
Yeah.
But I just ended up with Jobber, I guess.
Why was that?
I'm a sucker to watch people on Instagram. I love watching different companies. That's how you can learn so much more too. You just see the equipment they have, the way they do their business, right? Like Almond Landscaping or Molded Outdoors. You just see the way they do stuff. Some of them use Element, some use Jobber. I think
both of those get that Element.
It's a nitty-gritty thing, right? Like some people like swear by Jobber and some people swear by Element. You know what I mean? Like everybody just has their different likenesses and whatever about it.
So what are your thoughts on it? Like benefits and because 100% there's Element struggles and definitely a few things on the customer front, communication and automation, but the numbers, like I know exactly what truck is, how much it costs me per hour, how much I bill it out per hour, how much a machine is per hour, and then making templates, you break it all down, say this is what a crew is, their trucks, their trailers, or this or that.
Yeah.
Jobber, what do you feel the benefits are?
Just the CRM, so like the customer contact, reaching out to them, it's great for that. Like you're gonna show up, okay, like send them a thing, send
like
a notification.
Five different fucking notifications.
Yeah, right? Exactly, right? So it's great for that, the scheduling part of it. I'm starting to use it more. I didn't use the full benefit of Jobber like I did the last couple of years. Like 2024 is my first winter where I'm not working anywhere else. Like I'm taking this winter to do stuff like this or just to like work on the business, right? So I've been going through Jobber, setting everything up, just like practicing all the scheduling. Because to be honest, I didn't use it to my full advantage. Like what I'm paying for it a month, I should be.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, like working for different companies, I didn't put the same effort into it. I plowed snow for the last 3 years, but you plow snow or sol, you get home, and I just didn't have that motivation to set it all up. And then spring comes around, right? And then you're busy doing whatever else.
And then you're slammed.
So then hopefully this year I'm gonna use the scheduling better. Just the Jobber coster, like the cost.
The job costing. Yeah,
job costing. I want to use that more as well. And develop that more, so I know my numbers better.
Yeah.
I should know them better. We're not huge, so I can still like know it in my head. But like the size you are,
you still don't know, man.
The size you are when you get bigger, then you don't know, right? But even then, I can't give an exact number for so many things. Just I don't know.
And I've been in the same boat until Element, to be honest. Like I was just like, this is an hourly rate. I hope it might cover maybe my costs.
Yeah.
And it kind of maybe worked out.
Yeah.
And then you look at the profit and loss in QuickBooks, but even that, it's like, well, February, maybe you got the deposit for the job, so February looks okay.
Yeah.
March, you spend all the materials, so March is a shitty month, and then April you finally get paid.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit, April is a great month. So like, how making sure your books are in line, and there's actually like bookkeepers and accountants that are like match all that up. So say like there's a deposit in February, 40%, so then 40% of the materials get expensed in February,
right?
To make sure everything lines up.
Yeah.
Either that or doing it per job, and with Jobber, like the job costing, that works good.
Yeah, like this will be my first year using the Jobber the cost factor. But before it was just like on Excel.
Yeah. And more so like metrics and stuff.
Yeah, like like we also use like the accountant, and they deal with a lot of that stuff as well. And then the payroll is done by someone else. But like the job costing, I'm hopefully to use it as where I know the stuff like what you said about the trucks, what it's costing you every single hour. Because right now, like I just bill it out by the hour for certain jobs. Or on my Excel sheet, I have it all created, okay, for this job, what it will be. And at the end of the job, I have a good idea just because I'm not crazy big.
Yeah.
Right? But with the expansion of JLC, landscaping company we purchased, I should know these numbers better. And now that I'm 19 and like this is going to be my full deal for a while in life, I should really master it, get better, and that'll just help the business in the future, right?
Yeah, and to your point of scaling, like so much is in our heads, and like you can go to a job and be like, that's gonna take 15 hours. That's
Yeah.
gonna be 50 man hours.
Yeah.
But what happens when the office lady is then estimating and she has no clue, right?
No,
So
exactly.
how to like, and I have no clue how to do it either. I'm still trying to figure it out like for this season, but like putting metrics on things like what is this patio gonna be, and then there's like, well, charging per square foot. Sure, but a square foot patio in the front yard is different from one that's in the backyard 100 feet away.
Exactly.
And like,
I know what you mean. Like for sod, we do like by the roll. Is it just pretty standard? Unless if it's like a very tight lawn or a lot of cutting and stuff.
But what if it's 500 rolls compared to 5,000 rolls?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like then you get start throwing deals. But again, like I do all the estimating myself. Hopefully down the road in a few years I can get like an office.
So what do you think is an idea? Because some office lady just throwing deals isn't gonna fly.
No, exactly, and that's when you got to have your system set in Jobber or LMN, right? So then you're consistent, and then you have all the fine details written. Okay, if it's above this many rolls, cut it down another 50 cents. You know what I mean? Make it cheaper. Or for pavers, for example, like what you said there, like we don't do by the square foot, just because like there's so many different things with pavers where it's okay, like
is it a big paver? Is it like
is it a slab, right? You got to get a vacuum lifter that's worth $4,000 to lift them and set them, or is it just like a Brussels block paver that you're just dropping in by hand? Is there a lot of cutting? Is there a border? Is there like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All this. Is there a caban you got to cut around or a pergola, right? All this stuff like that.
Yeah.
That can take longer.
100%. But there like you have to put. I don't have the answer, and that's why I'm picking your brain on it. But you have to have some sort of like metric or system, or like how else would an office lady do it? I don't have the answer at all.
I think like I don't know. I'm not at that level yet.
Do you think having different rates for different, like, okay, if it's hard access, if it's an easy front yard access, if it's this type of block, and just have so many different like. And then that gets complicated.
Yeah, there's so many different variables, right? If it's like a small patio, like, but maybe you can get like a 1-ton mini X back there, right? You could dig it. Maybe there's just like a small access and you're in a tight neighborhood and just a wheelbarrow and a shovel is the only way to go, right? There's so many variables. So I think like with landscaping, you can't just leave it up to your estimator. I think you just got to meet with them, have them make up the quote, and then you review it together at the end of it. Okay, adjust.
So basically have it prepared. They take whatever half hour of your day, you go through a few estimates at the end of the day. This is good, this needs to revise.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then I think that could be like the way to go. There's just so many different variables. Like I think we're both yet to learn how it's going to work.
Yeah.
But I think like every company has different ideas or what works great for them. It doesn't always work for the next company.
Yeah.
So I think we're just gonna have to like walk into it and just figure out. You got to see like maybe the person you hire for estimate has like great experience, right? Or maybe there's someone younger with not a crazy amount of experience in the landscape or hardscape industry. You know what I mean? So I think it's just gonna have to hire the person and see what it brings, honestly.
And with the process of hiring a salesperson, I've been going through that the past month and finding there's sales guys, whether it's they have lots of sales experience but not trades experience.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can close someone if they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Or you get an experienced guy but they're some seasoned landscaper that's not as client friendly, or there's that aspect of it too. So it's all a fine balance.
Yeah, exactly. You really just got to find the right person. And see, I guess you could say I do the sales, whatever, but I just walk around. I know what to look out for. I know what I'm looking at. I know what to ask the customers. Like if they got a drainage problem, okay, like can I have the grading plan from when the house was built, right? That sort of stuff. And just like try to sell them, okay, let's do some pop-up drains here. Let's install some 4-inch pipe, underground pop-up drain, right? That's going to prevent the water flowing on top of the ground and let it disperse maybe closer to the catch basin in your backyard, right? So it's not trickling down 40 feet, but instead popping up 2 feet away from the catch basin. Stuff like that you can upsell them on. Or just like, hey, like landscape lighting, stuff like that. Do this better, do that better.
Landscape lighting is comfortable as hell. Eh?
Yeah, I enjoy it. We use
and it ties everything together. Like
Yeah.
honestly, I would do landscape lighting as long as the client's covering my costs. If we're doing the whole 9 yards of everything.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It makes it look, and I know that's what you did for a massive project last spring, right? And
in case actually in that one, that was our first landscape lighting one last year's spring. It was like a nice like sunken in patio off of a pond with like armor stone.
Yeah.
I tried to upsell. I didn't make anything on the lighting, but I knew this project would look way better.
But in your portfolio, that's probably the first picture.
Exactly right. That's just gonna tie everything nicer. Like landscape lighting, I haven't done yet, and I really wanted to. So I'm like, okay, like I'll install it at the cost of whatever it takes, whatever the stuff the lighting costs, and I will install it. It probably took a half day. But now I can say I know how to do landscape lighting.
And next time it'll only take a few hours.
I have a picture of it, like, you know what I mean? You can try to upsell from there then. You know how to do it. You know what you're talking about.
And what brand did you use?
I used Inlight.
They make it so fucking easy.
It's just wire and you twist it on and away you go, right? And then I think Bold or something came out. It's like, I don't know, it's like a North American supplier that had Inlight. But they almost took that and then made their own brand called Bold. And it's like different connectors and stuff. So I might end up using that just because my stone supplier in London, Grand River Natural Stone, they're going to switch. Okay. So I mean, and like the distributor or supplier is like right in London too of Bold. And that's the reason why I use Inlight, just because like the warehouse is right there.
Yeah. So
I could just quickly grab everything if my supplier didn't have it. Then they can get it shipped super quick, right? Like that day or the following day. So it was nice for that. And then Bold will be the same. It's going to be in London, I'm pretty sure. So in that case, it's nice. And just with, I want to keep loyal to my stone supplier. They treat me pretty well. Like I can get my stone, I can get my lighting there, right? So I just keep it the same. Unfortunately, like Inlight was good, but I think Bold will be a little bit cheaper, so which will be nicer. And like the connection is just as easy, which will be nice too. So. But you gotta learn all the light names again and see what the product brings. You know what I mean?
Study their catalog.
Yeah, exactly. I go to church with a guy, and he actually he helped, I think, develop some of the products. Like gave his input because he installed a whole landscape outdoor living project for like the distributor in North America that had the Inlight.
Yeah. So
he did his whole backyard. It was like a pool and all these lights everywhere. It was nice. So then what he did, like he has so much experience with Inlight, so then he met with these Bold guys, like, okay, do this, do that, whatever. And just kind of gave him some input on what he would like to see.
Interesting.
So in that case, it's pretty cool. That's how I go to church with someone that actually helped put input.
Well, I'm curious once you're using it, you'll have to let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
What it change and if it's worth, like if it's that much cheaper, we probably just order a bunch in bulk if our suppliers don't sell them yet.
Because like Inlight's already so expensive as it was. Like it was like $600 for like a transformer, and your wire spool like 150 meters is already like $300, and you got all your lights that are like $200-$300 each. Right?
Do you use Inlight lighting or Inlight wiring? Sorry.
Yeah, I use their wiring just because it's built with the connectors. It's never like I'm pulling out a splicer or. You know what I mean? It's very different than, it's low voltage, right? It's very different than what your pot lights are.
Yeah.
It's nothing like that. You don't need to be a certified electrician. They make it crazy simple. It's unreal.
Interesting. In terms of stone and pavers, you guys Unilock, what do you use?
We've used anything from like Triple H for a client that doesn't want to spend a lot to Unilock to Permacon. Are the three main ones. I think we only ever use Technoblock for their fire pits.
Yeah.
Other than that, but I think I want to stick to like hopefully just Unilock or Permacon one day.
Yeah. And
like the Triple H pavers, they're just, I don't know if you know what Triple H is.
I don't. No.
Is Best Way stone a lower quality stone?
Yeah.
Right, so it could be something like that. I buy it in London. It's like $3 for like a 12 by 12. They call it a penny paver. But like sometimes it's chipped or it's not even, right? Yeah. It's just the generic paver that home builders use to add in a backyard, but the longevity of it is not the same as what Unilock is, right?
Right.
It doesn't come in the same thickness, the same quality. The depths of the stone are not always consistent. And it just doesn't look nice, right?
Yeah, with Best Way, it somewhat looks nice, but it's like you said, the people who don't want to pay a lot, it's a good option to get something opposed to turning your back and walking away.
Yeah.
But after a few months or a year, it's already like that efflorescence, is that the word?
Yeah, exactly.
It's already coming through. It's
fades.
chipping. It's fading. It's
even salting or whatever. Like, well, obviously salt is not good for a period, but I mean, like, just the longevity of it will have its effects, right? So
interesting. So I wanted to touch on marketing. With you being in a small town, I'm curious. Like, we're super fortunate here. We're it's so dense here.
Yeah, Oakville. It's
it's right in our backyard, and people are just struggling to find landscapers. So they're calling us left, right, and center. It's not to say it's not hard, but compared to what you have to deal with, I'm sure it's completely different. So being out in the country where you live, how
But like that made starting up a little bit harder, right? Because I was like a couple of minutes from town or whatever, but it's still too far to hop on like a little lawn tractor and drive there, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to work too much. My neighbors like aren't crazy close, or I just have a couple of neighbors, but they didn't want my service just because they don't need it.
Yeah.
The average thing in the country is they're a farmer and they can just do it themselves, right? That's just the standard way. And my closest town is Watford, but there's not a lot of market in Watford. It's just a small little town. Like the newest subdivision was like 5 years ago or whatever. So my closest work is like Sarnia or London. So I'm like in the middle of there, and I draw like an hour radius for my work. And what I did was just like a bunch of door hangers in Sarnia and Brights Grove is where I started out.
So is that like the most like dense or high quality client? Is that why you picked that, or just door hangers? You can go for days doing door hangers.
Oh, you could if I looked on Google Earth, I use Google Earth so much. But I looked at these subdivisions. They're right off of Lake Huron.
Yeah. And
it's called Lakeshore Road, and along that road, there's just a bunch of beach houses and everything. So I'm like, that's where you got to go, right? These people work in the plants, hospitals, whatever. And I figured I just went all out in there. My mom and my sister and I went for like a morning on a Saturday, like the first nice spring morning on a Saturday 3 years ago. And people are outside. They're excited to be outside too. So I was just walking around. I'm a young kid. I was 15, 16, whatever. And they just love to support me too. And they're like, I did quotes on the spot, stuff like that. Just got the door hangers out. I don't know how many we did. But then that was a great spot to start. I got my first job is like 10 grand, 11 grand, whatever. It's like my first putting green ever. I was nervous to install it just because like, man. But I called so many people, just had the supplier, whatever, on FaceTime. Am I doing it right? Whatever.
That's awesome. I saw that on your website a few years ago, and that
it's
impressive for some. What were you, 17, 16-year-old?
Yeah, around there. I couldn't even drive yet at the time. That was when my helper was driving me there. But like the customer is also a little bit skeptical. Like, like it's your first one. It's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But they threw it at me. They trusted me. They trust the process, I guess, and
that's awesome.
Went for it, and it all worked out. Like I was by myself at one point because like halfway through that project, then I got my driver's license, and like it was like a 15-foot long wide turf roll, and it was just like I tried moving it by myself. I called a buddy like, hey, can you help me for a second? But just trust the process, and then from there we just kept getting work. I had a little 6x12 with logos on the side of it.
Yeah.
And I parked it on the road over the weekend, but even then that helped. My name was out there.
Like at that site.
Yeah, and then I got a couple of customers that worked at like the Sarnia Hospital, and then they had their circle, and then eventually I got like a bunch of work from a few guys that they were the same ethnicity, and like they talked in their circle, and then I got so much work for them. Like the hospital, the one guy worked for the government and Nunavut or whatever, and they all had lots of money, and they helped me out. They gave me all a bunch of work, and even just talking with different companies, they've thrown me work too.
Yeah. And
just like marketing on Facebook, I'm part of like so many different like town groups. It's like Sarnia buy and sell or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? I post on there. I like share my posts like 9-11 times. And then from there, they probably get annoyed seeing all this stuff, but I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm getting work from it.
Yeah.
And just like asking your customers for reviews. Like right now, we maybe only got like 25 or something reviews. 2 or 3 of them are like for my buddies, but the rest are real, genuine like reviews. I finished the job, and I asked them, like, hey, just please leave an honest review how you thought our work was.
Yeah. Do you remember every time? I'm sure. Like I forget.
I forget. I tell people, they still don't do it. They might forget, right? I don't go to Boston Pizza or Krabby Joe's to do it quick. Like if I get a great meal, I still don't write a review. You know what I mean?
But it's because they don't ask or follow up. So Nice Job is, I'm sure you've heard of them, maybe not, but so they integrate with Jobber and it connects with your invoices and when a job's completed.
Oh really?
So when the invoice is sent, they email a review request, and then a few days later, and you can customize it all. A few days later, they send the client a text saying, "Hey, just following up. You know, if you're happy, we'd appreciate a review." And it's just all automated. Like that's another.
Right, I should look into that actually.
And it's like $50 a month or something, and it's changed our business.
Which is like that fully. $50 can turn into a whole other sale, right? You gotta look at it that way. I do some marketing too, and I throw some money at it. It's like, man, it's a lot of money.
But you get one sale and it's paid for, and everything else is bonus.
If you look at the ROI, like the return on the investment of this marketing, it could be like a whole other level that brings you more work. You're able to market for the jobs you want, and less of the little jobs. You can target the people, which kind of working with like the marketing company I hired. To take care of that more is the idea. So we can really push and expand.
Good. In terms of like finding your niche, dialing in and figuring out what you're good at, you mentioned it's not hard for you to say no, but if there's an opportunity, you like to take it. There's the side business acquisition. In terms of saying no, where do you draw that line? And obviously you've done it. You've said no to lawn maintenance, yard maintenance. How do you look at that? Really finding your niche.
I hear from so many people too. Like you got to learn to say no sometimes. You just got to stick to what you're doing. Like for example, like next week we're installing a sump pit in the basement, and we got to tear out a bunch of drywall and run lines and stuff. It's not what I do. That's not my bread and butter. It's winter. I'm quiet. I need some sort of like income too, right? So we're doing this job like gutting a basement or whatever. It'll be different, but in that case, I'm not going to say no. Like work is work and experience. If I ever get my own house someday, then you know how to do it, right? And just like generic plumbing or stuff, it's good to know if you're ever doing a pool house or pools, right? Just the more you know, you got to take into factor. But learning to say no for the grass cutting and stuff, sometimes it is harder with the maintenance. But you just gotta say no. This is my price. Some people are like, oh, cash. No, like you know, like.
So, but busy season for this job, it 100% would have been no. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Right, and then like we gotta stick to what we're doing. Our guys, the reason they're working for us is landscaping, right? Otherwise, they would go work for a renovation company if we're gonna go get a basement for a sump pump. You know what I mean? So saying no to certain jobs is tough. I still have to say. Some of my past maintenance customers, like the garden bed maintenance customers, I still gotta tell them no yet, but I was trying to send an email or give them a call. Like some of them are expecting me in the spring, but like February, I'm gonna tell them. That still gives them a month.
So where do you draw the line? Like mulch is very, very profitable.
Yeah, like there's different aspects that are profitable. I mean, like for grass cutting too, you can be profitable if you got the right density, you got the right team, you got the right workers that put in like the fine detail, right? And then you can expand. You get all these conduit units, and you get so much work from there, right? But I just don't think that's not the kind of work I want to do. I'm not in the right area for it, and I'd rather just stick to what I want to do because that's what I enjoy, right? I don't want to do something that I don't enjoy. That's too short to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing bad about cutting grass. It's just not for me. But always learning to say no is a big one. There's some jobs like I walk away from the quote. I'm like, why did I say I'm going to do this, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, but I'm still learning to say no.
I can relate to that.
Just taking. There's so many opportunities always, right? It's like.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, and weighing the options too of like the opportunity cost. If you tie yourself up in this job that you don't want to be doing, not going to add to your portfolio and not going to make money, you might not be able to take on the next, $100,000 install or whatever it is. Right?
You gotta think about if you did work for this customer, what else could it bring to the table, right?
Yeah.
Right after that, okay, like even if you discount something, like they could be bringing that much more to you, right? I did that for a few jobs, just like make it a little bit cheaper that way. I got it. I can take a picture of it. Like when I started out, there was a lot of jobs I discounted, or that like that artificial turf job.
Just for the portfolio.
The portfolio, right? And like, to be honest, I would be honest with the customers, like, for that turf job, the first one I did, I gave it a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Just because it's gonna take longer, and it's my first one, right?
Yeah.
They were still super happy with it. Pictures on Instagram, but and it was totally worth it to them. And I'm glad I could walk away with a picture, like I did that. You know what I mean? There was no other contractor on there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can show that on to the next customer and the following, and then that job will lead on to a bigger one, right? So that's what really counts.
And also, your guys, like, if they're doing something different every single day, how are they going to get good at it? Like, there's contractors out there doing, like, Christmas lights and lawn mowing and some landscaping. And it's like, well, we're here to be the best and figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to get good at every single thing. There's no way you're going to be profitable and efficient at it if you need a different setup every day. You need a different trail. You need a different set of tools. Of course, your guys are going to forget something.
Yeah.
Dialing that in has been really finding the importance of that. And last year, you know, one week we'd be doing a fence, then a patio, and then there'd be like a brush clearing job.
Yeah.
And it was like improv every single day or every single week.
Yeah.
Opposed to having the exact same systems, and it's just rinse and repeat for the guys. They wake up, they do the same thing. Really emphasizing the importance of that.
That is a system I want to put in place in the future. Like last year, there was just one crew of us working, right? That's when you're starting out, you're doing everything, right? But hopefully down the road, like for example, we're gonna have 2 crews this year. And what I'm doing is I'm gonna have each crew, one crew is gonna do like the pavers, and the other crew will do carpentry work, and then we're gonna do the sod jobs together. It's just nice to have 4 or 5 people, right?
Yeah.
Just pump out a bunch of sod.
Yeah.
And then the other days, like we're gonna do our own thing, or then if it's like a softscaping job, like a garden install, we'll still do that. Then we'll maybe split the garden. Okay, we're gonna do this garden, you guys do a garden. But then what we can do is they have their truck and trailer set up, and that's pavers, and the other one is woodworking, right? And then hopefully down the road, what we can do is we can have 4 to 5 crews is my goal someday. We can have an excavation crew, and they're specialized in what they do.
Yeah.
We can have a softscaping crew, so they'll come in after, they'll do the sodding, the gardens, whatever, right? And then you have a hardscape crew, they do all just like the hardscaping, the generic retaining walls, pavers, patios, whatever it is, right?
Good.
And then the carpentry crew is specialized in the fences, cabanas, pergolas, decks, you know. And then when you're looking to hire someone, you can go to Fanshawe College in London or Lansing College and look for guys that went to school for carpentry and hire them on the carpentry side, right? You don't want to hire a carpentry guy that went to school for a couple of years for woodworking and then have him planting plants. That's not what he went to school for, right? So if you can find these people and they can be specialized in what they do, they can be good at what they do, they can set systems in what they're doing, and they just stick to what they do, right? And the same with the excavation guys or the hardscaping guys. That's the goal someday.
Yeah, well, and then I'm sure eventually build those systems so well that you have multiple carpentry crews or multiple hardscape crews, however you structure that. So what's your plan in terms of stepping back, getting out of the field and being able to dial in those systems and work on the business opposed to just working overtime?
I like what you're doing right now, because you're off the tools so much, right? And that is a goal of mine. I can't see it happening in 2024, but like for 2023, I was working 5-6 days a week, always out in the field. I'm hoping this year I can bring it out to where maybe like a day a week or even half a day a week, I can like step back and just like run around and do quotes. Like right now, like office work is just done in the evening after work. You get home at 7 o'clock, you're doing it till 10 o'clock at night. And the worst part of that is, right, you're doing a quote, you're tired, you want to go to bed, so you're just like pumping out this quote, but you're not doing it the way you should, right?
Yeah, you mess something up, and then you don't get back to clients on time, and then the opportunity cost is what I look at.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, it's 2 weeks, and I met him 2 weeks ago, I still don't have a design and proposal together, and then you lose the job.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? So it's stuff like that where it's going to benefit you if you can step back, and then you can take the time. You can call the customer or the supplier during the day, right? Because the suppliers are closed past 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then you just got to guess the price, or hopefully you have it written down or in a past quote somewhere you can look at, right? So it's something like that I want to improve on. But for us stepping back, I can't really see it happening for another couple of years, I think.
So what crew are you going to be on this year? The carpentry or the hardscape?
I think I was going to be on the carpentry one, just because my other helper there, he's been with me, this is going to be his 3rd year. I went to school with him. Again, like, if I didn't have him, I wouldn't be where I am now. He helped me so much. He was someone I could trust. I went to school with him for like 4 years, so I knew who he was. I didn't hire some random guy, right? I could trust him. He's a great guy, great worker. Shows up every day. He says he's going to show up. So there's something like that. And then he did masonry in high school for another company for a couple of years. So he has that stoneworking experience and he enjoys that. So I'm hoping he can like be on the mason or hardscaping side, and I'll be on the woodworking side. And then maybe down the road I can find a guy, or the guy that will be on my crew, maybe he's going to be good enough.
Like your right hand man.
Yeah, and then he can eventually become like the foreman, whatever you want to call it, for that woodworking crew. And then maybe I can move on to like the excavation crew, right? But in this case, I'll probably do the woodworking and like the excavation side, just because I don't think my other helpers, they can read like a site plan or a grading plan, right? You got all your pinpoints, benchmarks, sometimes I don't think they know that all yet. And just for when you're doing a house, you really got to know the depth and the right height. Otherwise, your foundation's going to be a foot or 2 feet higher than the other one beside it, right? So it's stuff like that. And I'm still learning lots on the house dig side, so I want to keep building that up so I'm better, and then I can step off, right? Yeah. So I think if I can transition between crews in the next few years, and then have a guy on each crew that worked with me over the couple of years, and then him become the foreman, and then, you know what I mean, build something like that. But you just got to have the right guys come.
The guys is everything. Like, without them,
they're the backbone to your company, right? Without them, you can't do anything. But if they can show up, stick to their word, and just want to stay in the company and become better in that company, is what you really need to keep growing. You just need guys that you can trust.
And comes with leadership too, like showing them what you expect and what the expectation is of you not being afraid to work those long hours, outwork them. They see, you know, you're way up before them every single morning. You're working way later than they are, and they respect you, they listen to you and look up to you. I couldn't imagine a company that's not like that, right? If your guys thought you were some fool, or thought you weren't driven or dialed in and were not putting in these long hours, the dynamic would be very different, and so would the quality of work.
Yeah, like if you can show like the initiative in the company you have, you can set all these systems in place, make sure like everything's great for the guys, whether you give them boots, shirts, I don't know, pay for their flight to somewhere in the winter, you know what I mean, because I don't have work for them. It's stuff like that. And I'm younger. I'm not sure if people think it's my dad's company or whatever. Like it's not my dad's company, but if I can show that, and I worked hard to get where I am now, and like if you can pay your guys great. Last winter I went to a bunch of different landscape companies. We went to one together, the UPLP group. But what they say so much is pay your guys great. Like if you can be a really good paying company, that shows them, like, they got to show an initiative what they're doing. Like, my boss pays me well.
Well, and you can expect way more as well. If you're paying them all, then the expectation, they're like, oh, I'm only getting paid $20 an hour. Of course, I'm not going to show up on time.
Yeah, if you're paying them minimum wage, like, you can't expect a lot of them, right? Yeah. So if you can pay them well, that also gives you a leverage. Like, hey, I'm paying you well, guy. Like, show up 10 minutes early, be ready. Yeah. Get ready to roll. Show initiative on what you're doing. Put in the work. You know what I mean? And then there's bonuses on top of that, right? There's stuff like that will keep them motivated, let's say. But you would think the normal person would think that, right? But, you know, you're more experienced with hiring people than I am. But, yeah, I could just see, like, not everyone's going to think the same way, right? Not everyone's on the same motivations.
Well, and also just seeing guys, like, you see them in the interview, they're great. They're great for those few hours until they're in the field, or even that first week is great until they show their true colors. Yeah. And what I've found is giving your trust up front, trusting them right away. Yeah. So, because the first few weeks they're always trying to gain your trust. If you give that to them right away, then they'll be able to start being sneaky, or they'll be able to start doing whatever they're gonna do in 4 weeks right away. Yeah. it's and there's has to be some sort of system around that, and I have not mastered it by any means, but
no, and every person is different.
Every person's different, and how you read them is completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
So having that standard set of all your existing guys, and if there's 4 guys on a crew and there's an additional guy, they'll be able to weed him out really really quick.
Yeah.
If he can't keep up, and they know that standard set so high because of you as the leader,
Yeah.
Is such a hard worker, and they know that you're gonna take everyone on your back when if shit goes down. If they trust you, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. That is something I gotta learn for like this year, because last week I hired 2 people, so then hopefully it's gonna be 4 of us, and then 1 or 2 part-time guys, and maybe my brother will help me too.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna learn so much this year, and then I figure like people can tell you a lot of stuff, and it's great. It's always helpful. But sometimes you just gotta experience it in the moment, right? You really gotta get a feeling of
shit.
Yeah, you gotta eat crap and then do it, learn from it, and move on, right?
Yeah.
So that'll probably be this year. Maybe the guys I hired like great. They seem like great guys. They got that past experience. I talked to like 3 of the references on each side, and nothing but great things. So we'll really see what it brings.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's all great stuff, and that I can learn a lot from this. But we'll honestly see what it brings.
Okay.
But.
In terms of this coming year, but also next year's, like, what are your steps, whether it's equipment acquisitions or different ventures? What's next for you?
For next for me, I tell us every year to myself, I'm not going to buy any more equipment. But then another opportunity comes up.
Yeah.
I really got to start saving for a house. I want to get married someday, and houses are so expensive. You want to put down 100 to 200 grand for a house is ideal. For what I want to put down. So I got to start saving that, which means I can't keep buying equipment. So like this year we purchased a new hydro seeder, and I told myself that's it, like no more, right? Because just the other hydro seeder I had was small unit, and buying this new company I needed a bigger one.
Yeah.
It came with like a full size roll off hydro seeder, but I don't have a roll off truck. Either of my AZ, I don't have that either. So I sold that, and I'm just buying one I can pull behind my truck. And then hopefully that's it, right? Like start saving money for a house, put away the money for a down payment, everything, because like interest rates are so high, and I don't know. I lived in the country all my life, so I want to buy a house like just outside of town.
Yeah.
Outside of London, hopefully, or Strathroy.
Yeah.
Would be ideal for me. So, but as far as like down the road, I want to have 4 guys this year full time, and then hopefully the following year maybe get the 3rd crew going. I have enough vehicles for the 3rd crew. But we'll honestly see what it brings, see what the market brings. Like even during COVID, it was like, oh, not a lot of people are going to spend money. So it's like, maybe this is not the ideal time to start a company.
Yeah.
But COVID was actually great. It was
blew everything up.
It was. I think people didn't really see it coming at the same time. So that was really good for it. But I just got to see how this year goes, how the market is, how the home builders are doing. Because I know there's a lot of them that are not building, but there's also a few of them that are building. And the custom home builders are continuing to build houses, because the custom homes,
they don't have money actually.
They got money, right? So that's where things keep rolling, right? And if you got the right connections that keep giving you work, just like there's another guy that's given us a few designs or work. We do work for a company in Sarnia installing playgrounds. So they're based in Sarnia, but we go to Cambridge, Kitchener, the GTA area, and we're installing playgrounds. And that's like, they just give us work. It's all quoted out. We just show up hourly. We bring our trucks, equipment, guys. Awesome. We supply that. So they're from like getting work from the school board, and that's all government money, right? So that's like guaranteed work. So the kids got to keep playing, right? So.
So for the guys starting out, like you're years ahead of just being 19 years old. Like the amount of experience and knowledge that you have. And what do you have to say for those younger guys getting started out to build relationships, like that playground contract?
Yeah, I say
like that's impressive, and not everyone has this, right?
No, I say you just got to really open up to your surroundings. Talk to the people that are around you. If you see someone else working on the road, or a different landscaper or home builder, I've done it so many times where I just pull up, I talk to them like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Shake their hand. I'm Calvin. I do landscaping. Give them a business card, right?
Yeah.
You really got to open up. Don't be afraid to invest in some different online programs. I've done a few. I did the Unilock one. There was another group that I was part of that I didn't pay to do it, but I learned so much. and just talk to different people, whether it's like you. Like sometimes we talk on the phone for an hour. Like you're in Oakville, your market is different than mine. Let's say in Walkford, you can maybe charge more.
Yeah.
And just learning stuff like that. I took the time last winter to meet different landscapers. Just stuff like that. Open up. And I would say don't be afraid to invest money. Like, just you gotta learn. Love to eat crap, like what you say. You sometimes just gotta do that, and then you're gonna learn from it, and then do better the next time.
Yeah.
I would say is really beneficial for that.
Good. In terms of yeah, like you mentioned those courses. You missed out on the Hardscape Academy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, that was so great, and doing that again would be something.
I would love to do that, because those are all the guys I watch on Instagram too, like Almond, Mulder Outdoors, J Square, like all their stuff.
Yeah.
They got all these excavators with tilt rotators, and they're like, and they're
great.
using GPSs for their jobs. It's incredible. I would love to do it one time. It is a lot of money, but like you recommend it, so hopefully maybe one day I can do it. They're great guys. Like I went to the Kentucky Landscape Show. I met some of them there. Like they're super genuine, nice, honest guys, right?
100%.
I talked to the Unilock rep that's like at this big convention for everybody around the world goes there.
Yeah.
And they knew some of these Mulder or Almond guys. Like they're doing great work. They really have the true values of what a company should look like with systems set in place.
Yeah.
They really master that, it looks like. So you can learn a lot from them. So if you can invest in your education in that sense, in the winter and your downtime, you can learn so much from that.
For sure. Awesome. And you mentioned with the market, like I know UPLP, they saw COVID coming and they ordered, I don't know, like 50 pool sets or something.
They slammed the money down and bought like all this material. Like
put $2 million towards stocking material, and I don't know how they knew to do that. It's nuts what they do up there.
And that is one thing I learned in the last 4 years. You can look at all these different companies, but each company has been blessed or given so many different opportunities that you can't compare yourself to different companies just because, like, for example, like I've had friends, someone said, yeah, I couldn't do that because like my parents both had full-time jobs and they wouldn't be able to drive me around, right?
Yeah.
Like my parents, they're farmers. My mom's just a stay-at-home mom and she helped me out so much, right? So I had that opportunity, but the next guy is not going to have that opportunity. Or for example, my dad was able to co-sign for if anything hit the fan, right? But maybe some parents wouldn't do that for their kids, right? But I think if you can show you can work for it and that you maybe someone have a plan made up, they're willing to support you. I know my parents said, oh, don't do landscaping in high school, just wait till you're done, right?
Yeah.
I'm more than happy than ever that I started in high school because now I graduated and I was able to have a full-time job with like a normal income, right, that I can live off of and not have it worried. Whereas if I had to start after high school, you got to work another job part-time, you know what I mean? Like,
Are you sure you don't want to do the 4 years at university?
Oh, I would never want to. I know there's some people that do, and like they trust their guys to do it, but school is never for me. I'm not that academic applied. Let's say I went to a very academic school. I did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
They just like sit down at the desk, whatever. I did not enjoy it for the life of me. But getting out of high school with the job that was set in front of me, that I had like somewhat developed.
Yeah.
I'd be in school. I like just look at landscape stuff all the time. I loved it. I couldn't wait to get outside of school. Working after school, I took my trailer to school, took my skid steer dump trailer because I had like a job 10 minutes down the road in another town. And that was when I first got my first home builder. I think it was summer after grade 11 or the spring of grade 12 or something. I got my first home builder, and they had all these homes for me and stuff. Like we ended up laying, well, for the first year with that home builder, I think we did like between all the sod jobs, like 3 football fields worth of sod. It was a lot.
Holy shit.
It was a lot of sod.
Wow.
I learned so much. Like, go right after school, get out at 3:30 on the job by 4 because I drove that day.
Yeah.
12, work till 8 o'clock, whatever, and I just do whatever it took. Sometimes you're home by 9, 10, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's so important too, like kids as well. Sure, parents are an influence, but rightfully so, their only thoughts or perspectives are what they had 50 years ago. It was so different back then of what their normal is, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it was. You had to go to school to be successful. That piece of paper mattered back then, but this day this day and age it doesn't, and it's so important not to stick to your guts and not listen to that and resent your parents for those few years so you can have a good relationship the rest of your life, opposed to having resentment with them the whole life because you did their decision and you didn't stick to what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like my father he wanted me to stick with my bike trailer and not buy a truck. I'm like, yeah, it's not how it's gonna work. So anyways, in terms of all that sod though, I am curious with, like, do you buy them in rolls and have those like skid steer rollers?
We just have, like, so we bought them in a pallet, right, from the Strathroy Turfers, who I use in Green Horizons. It's 85 rolls on a pallet.
But what about those massive skid steer rolls?
Yeah, and we have a machine now that can install it, but we're selling that just because the sod supplier doesn't make them actually anymore. There's not enough people that use them. And I've talked to different guys, or the Strathroy Turf sod supplier. He's like, it works for like a football field or a baseball diamond, but with all these cookie cutter houses nowadays in the subdivisions, you're spending more time trying to adjust those big rolls, right? It's not the same. Sometimes you can't get a big skid steer into a backyard even, right?
Right.
So we're just using the generic 2x5 foot rolls, so that's 10 square feet.
Yeah.
And we just install that and get delivered on site. Our skid steer can't pick up a full pallet. Sometimes you gotta split it. It depends on how wet it is. Like in the spring, they're heavy wet.
When it's dry, they're
when in the middle of summer, July, whatever, then they're like dry. Then you can pick up more, right?
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of hand bombing and labor work, and it is what it is. I guess it's what I signed up for.
So before we wrap this up, what's a standard that either you live by or that's helped you get to this stage in your business?
Like we have a purpose in our life as to what God set us here for. And so let's say 6 days a week I work. On the seventh day, like the Sunday, we never work. Like that's set for God and our religion. We worship God. We go to church twice, an hour and a half each time. Yeah. And then we set the day, and that's what we work for. With our image in the back of the head, we're doing it to the glory of God. The work we do, being honest with people, just displaying the Christian reflection in our work is really a big thing. And just being honest with people, being straight up, not trying to snitch anybody, or you know what I mean? Just that's what we have our goal and our vision in our mind, and who we're doing our work for.
I love that.
Really the big thing.
And that's a huge part of what's missing in this generation now and this next generation is there's no honesty. There's no nothing bigger than the person themselves. I feel a god or a last name or whatever it is for it's different for different people. But something bigger than themselves, I feel, is the moral of the story, right? Like people need to wrap their head around that, because all the sketchy stuff that goes on, the snakes, the not being honest on jobs, or contractors dicking me around. I think that's the root cause of it.
Exactly. I had so many customers, like I've mentioned it to customers, like the Christian Park, is sometimes they want to like text me or something on a Sunday, but like, hey, I don't work on Sunday, just this is my religion, whatever. And they respect that as well, which is a big thing. Just doing it all to the glory of God is really the biggest part. That creates our main focus for our business.
That's awesome.
Is the biggest thing, right? So that just displays so many different values in the company as to how we operate.
I love that. Yeah. So. Awesome, Calvin. Well, thank you very much for coming out here. I do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me
on.
Thank you very much.